All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking about some form of music. I know that, and doing it in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. Gonna be talking about a song that won for Best Rock Performance at the Grammys last night. So I think it's interesting just to see the progression, where things have gone, and what constitutes as a really great rock performance. And this is according to the Grammys, which kind of used to be the gold standard when judging good quality stuff. And I'll illustrate that shortly. It's 2024, so I'm going to take you back to 1984 for a moment. Before I get there, here's Nitrate, another band that will take you back to 1984, at least musically. If you want your 80s really cheesy music, this is a band from the UK. I think I've said in the past they're from Sweden. Of course, I'm just assuming they're from Sweden, but they're actually from the UK and they're really good. It's Feel the Heat, right? It's not the most family friendly album cover, but the music is very 1984. So let's go back to 1984 to find out what was on the mind of those judges, those people who rate music at the Grammys and give out awards. So, in the rock category, and I'm going to stick with the rock category because the song I'm going to talk about won Best Performance in the rock category. So, they have this broken down. They have Best Female Rock Performance, Pat Benatar, Love is a Battlefield. Makes a lot of sense. Best Rock Vocal Performance Male is Beat It by Michael Jackson, who pretty much owned everything, and deservedly so. Best Rock Performance by a duo or group with vocal, Synchronicity by The Police. Hard to argue. That song is intense, and The Police were amazing. So there you have it. Back in 1984, hard to really argue with any of those choices. Well, fast forward to the 2024 Grammys, okay? Best rock performance. Now, they don't break it out female or anything. They just say best rock performance, and then they go on to best rock song and best metal performance. Best metal performance, by the way, was a song by Metallica called 72 Seasons. So good for them, all right? I haven't heard the song. Best rock performance, though, now keep in mind, 40 years later, the song is called Not Strong Enough, and the band is Boy Genius. Now, I had heard the name before, at least the name of the band. I had never listened to anything by Boy Genius, so I decided to do it, just so I wouldn't be spouting off platitudes and making general statements and stereotypes and doing what I normally do. So here is my summary of Not Strong Enough by Boy Genius. When the song ended, my first reaction, the thing I wanted to type first was, thank God that's over. That was my response to the ending of the song that was dubbed Best Rock Song by the Grammys. I was thinking to myself, we've come a long way from Toto and the Eagles and all of these great bands I grew up listening to. The Sonics, the actual musical landscape of this song, reminded me of a mixture of The Cure and the band New Order from the 1980s. And you know what? The 1980s underground, they should be getting royalties for everything that's happened since 1992 or 1993, because all of that alternative stuff you heard later was on the radio. If you were listening to college radio during the 1980s, you heard bands that were all precursors of what would come later on, and very few of those bands get credit for something like this, for Boy Genius. Now, the song itself opens up with acoustic guitars, which were kind of promising. But keep in mind, both The Cure and New Order had more compelling and interesting melody lines than this has. Now, this eventually establishes a melody, and I'll put that in quotations, and it's a mixture of melancholy and doldrums and misery. Those are the three words I decided to use. It then sets the stage for a stream of consciousness of lyrical psychobabble and self-loathing. All of this, by the way, has been a hallmark of popular music since the 1990s, and technically since college radio's underground in the 1980s, except again, the 1980s had some style and some fashion and keyboards. A lot of these bands don't believe in keyboards. I noticed that this type of music is almost hookless. When I say hookless, I mean, think of Love is a Battlefield, the song that won Best Rock Performance for Pat Benatar, female performance. That has hooks everywhere. A hook is a catchy melody line, something that gets your attention, a riff, a keyboard part. And it's usually brilliant because you have to be able to write an interesting song, which gets people to want to listen to it again. Now, during this song, they repeat this lyric over and over again, and it's really annoying. The lyric is always an angel, never a god. Always an angel, never a god. And they do it over and over again. The repetition and the droning of the music might be inspiration for, say, a trip to the liquor store or maybe to a therapy session. Maybe being a psych major in today's culture is a good idea. The ending of the song was most satisfying because of the silence that followed. I needed a moment to reflect on what the last 4 minutes had done to my senses. I realized that I could correct this by listening to, say, Eric Clapton for 30 seconds. And then I felt better. But overall, I feel sad for the music industry and what young people are subjected to. There is no genius in Boy Genius. Now, again, the Grammys disagreed with me. Not only did this song get Best Rock Song, it also won Best Rock Performance. And then the band went on to win Best Alternative Music Album, The Record by Boy Genius. So these guys won 3 Grammy Awards, at least as far as I can tell here. Maybe they won more of them, but I don't get it. And a lot of us of a certain age don't get it. And again, I go back to my diatribe about how 50s music was good, 60s music was good, 70s music was good, 80s music was good. Some of the 90s you could recognize is pretty good, but that's when things started to change. And this alternative category then became like the norm. Like you're only supposed to like alternative sounding rock. You can't like anything that's too happy, too melodic, too optimistic, where you could see yourself driving down the road and actually, singing the song. And I don't think that is the goal of songwriters today. A lot of this painful self-reflection on your life and all these weird metaphors and bizarre images that people try to put into these songs, I just can't follow it. And maybe it's my age, maybe it's I'm having a constant senior moment when I listen to these things, but I just can't understand what this is. And I know the pop stuff, the R&B stuff, and the hip hop, all of that is the dominant force in the music industry right now. But this is what we have left of the rock music side of things. And it's not pleasant, and it's not good for the future of music. Again, in the old days, you could kind of fight it out and you had many good choices. Again, going back to 1984, you had Thriller that had just dominated everything. So best rock performance by a male, Michael Jackson, Beat It. Okay. None of these songs are droning, Synchronicity by the Police. That's kind of alternative sounding, kind of, maybe not by today's standards, but in those days. Love is a Battlefield by Pat Benatar, a lot of rock and pop, but certainly a ton of melody in all of these songs. And fast forward a couple of generations, generation and a half, or however you want to gauge what a generation is. And our musical landscape is very sparse, very empty, and is not promising for the future. So I hate to be the Debbie Downer channel, but this is the kind of music I like. So when I share stuff like this, people go, okay, fine, but no one cares. And there's some truth to that. No one cares. But you just keep soldiering on. You keep talking about what's happening. And maybe we all just go back in time and we relive our younger years, because that gives us some comfort. And pretty much every generation has done that. But you know what? I could go back and listen to music from the 1960s. And that's technically way before my time, but I could listen to it and I could learn from it and I could enjoy it. Pretty much every decade during the last century, I could listen to some great music and glean something from it and feel good about myself and feel good about the world. But one listen to Boy Genius and you won't be feeling all that confident about the future. And so maybe I'm overanalyzing this, but it's what I do. I'm observing in real time. So again, thanks for watching this channel. I know the algorithm doesn't like me, but I appreciate the patronage. Patrons have really stepped up and just great people. I've even got some large donors that have stepped up last month and done some things for this channel based on the fact that initially when I started doing this, this wasn't a bad gig. You do your videos and you'd check your analytics and you'd be like, okay, I'm doing pretty good this week. But something changed last year and I don't know what it is and why it happened. But a lot of people think it's because I talk about certain things that I'm not supposed to talk about. That's one theory. The other theory is, the economy kind of went down the toilet a bit. I think the economy is trying to get better. So I'm hoping that things will get better here too. But in the meantime, again, thank you for being here. I don't take you for granted, and I appreciate everyone. God bless, and continue to pray for peace in the Middle East and for just everyone, everywhere. Pray for peace, and I'll see you soon.